We're at the Memphis Quartet Show, Memphis, Tennessee, with me, Charlie Waller of the Florida Boys. And Charlie, we want to welcome you to Gospel Music Today.
Well, thank you, Ken. It's good to be here, and we're looking for a real good time here tonight. And I've seen a lot of groups here. Going to be some good singing.
It is, and it's a very well-run event. We've been impressed.
It is. It's everything just clockwork. It's run so good that sometimes I think I'm running it.
All right. We want to talk about your current adventures with the Florida Boys, but let's go back a little ways. And how did you get involved in gospel music?
Well, my family, my mom and dad sang, and I grew up around gospel music. And when I was 15, I went to work at my local radio station in Waynesboro, Mississippi. And I played gospel music on Sunday. And, of course, I watched it on TV, and I loved the Statesman and the Blackwoods. And I was sitting there one Sunday just looking at the Glory Road show, Singing Time in Dixie with the Statesman and Blackwoods. And I told my mama, I said, one day I'm going to do that. Never did I know that I would grow up and be in business with the great Hovey Lister. And he was my idol at the time, and so it's been a good I've had a good run. I've seen the best and been with the best, and it was great.
Yeah, we've seen the Florida Boys Quartet concerts, and you always take a moment to recognize the veterans there, and you have service during the Vietnam era.
I did. I served 14 months in Vietnam, 69 and 70, and I came out of the service. Well, Nixon had the early out. If you come home and you had less than 180 days, then you didn't have to finish up with stateside duty. So I re-enlisted over there in order to have a less than 180 days because I knew I wasn't going to be a good serviceman back in the States. And I wound up in New Orleans, Louisiana, working at a gospel radio station after I come back from Vietnam. And I did my first concert with the Singing Rambos in 1971. I was 22 years old, and people said, "Where are you going to get your crowd?" I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Well, New Orleans is 90% Catholic and 10% black." I said, "Well, somebody's listening to my radio program because I had the mail to prove it." So I had it in the West Jefferson High School, and I filled the auditorium up, and I made more money on that first singing, and I've been going in the hole ever since.
Wow. When did the Grand Old Gospel reunion begin, and where did you get the idea for that?
Well, I dreamed about it. They built the Superdome in New Orleans, and I was there. And I told my program director, I said, I had a dream last night that I got all the old quartets. Well, see, that was in the 70s, so they had about disbanded and went separate ways, a lot of them, you know. I said, I dreamed I got all the original members of the old quartets, and we had a reunion, all-night singing in the Superdome. And he said, "Man," he said, that's amazing. He said, "You ought to do that." Well, that was in 71, and it stayed with me until 1988. And I started the Grand Old Gospel Reunion in Greenville, South Carolina in 1988, and carried it through. Last year was 28 years, and the hotel sold my weekends out from under me without me knowing it. And I had no place to go because it only works in Greenville.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple other places, and so we're not doing it. It's over with. And then, of course, in December this year, the Florida Boys, I'll be retiring the Florida Boys, and we're coming off the road, and I'm just tired of doing it. I'm 68 years old, and there's some other things I want to do.
Yeah.
And I want to do them while I'm able to do them.
That's right.
And so I really appreciate the fans and the friends out there that I've had that supported me and things that I've done. And gospel music people are great people, and I thank them for giving me the opportunity to do what I've done and make a living at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've paid back a lot, and you're in the Southern Gospel Music Hall of Fame.
Right. I was inducted in 2009 in Dollywood at SGMA there, and then recently I was inducted into the South Carolina Gospel Music Hall of Fame, and I'm proud of those accolades. And it's it just feels good that the people think that much of you.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't do it to be recognized, but it does feel good to be appreciated.
Exactly, and everybody likes to be appreciated, and I think the folks out there that again that's really supported me and supported the Florida Boys. When I took the Florida Boys, Les said, "Why don't you take them?" And he said, "You probably won't want to do this for 3-4 years." Well, this has been 9, and. But I just hated to see that name die because we've lost the Statesman, we've lost the Spears, we've lost the Cathedrals, and that's big icons in our business.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to see the Florida Boys name die because they were the first gospel quartet I ever seen in person when I was 16 years old. And never did I know, and Les Beasley and I became friends that night, and we stayed friends all those years. And matter of fact, he still comes to my house once a month, him and his wife, and spends the night and eats. I have to cook for him, and he's so special to me till I got 2 miniature donkeys, and I named one of them Les and one of them Francis.
Well, that's quite an honor. Well, Charlie, we will still look for you out on the road. I hope we see you from time to time, and we're glad that you could talk to us on gospel music today.
Well, thank you, and thank you for what you do with gospel music today. And I've been a part of it before, and I appreciate it. And I know things that you do, it's kind of a thankless job, but especially the artists, we appreciate what you do.
Thank you.